Danger! Danger, Will Robinson!
You are a man, I am a machine. Other than that slight difference, we have a great deal in common. This project is extremely dangerous.
Good evening. It is Tuesday, I think the 27th of May, day after Memorial Day. I had a lovely Memorial Day weekend. I want to welcome you all back to the Sloppy Modeler, and I want to welcome you back to the Lost in Space Chariot by Moebius, 1/24 scale. And we have made a lot of progress, but we're going to come back to that in a second. We made a lot of progress, and we're going to talk about what's left to do, and we will discuss some of the steps to bring this to completion. We're almost there, probably another day or so of just piddling with the some of the final pieces of this as it goes together. As you can see, we've got the interior is entirely in, and all the seats are in, the side curtains are in, the bottom has been screwed to this with 2 screws, and then we've got the tow hook in place, and this has been painted that metallic gray with the silver highlight going around the edges there, as you can see, and kind of up at the side there. Try to get some light onto it. So that silver turned out really pretty nice. I'm really pleased with that. So that is the bottom of the Chariot. That is ready for our foundation, if you will. It's ready to go. The doors were a bit more of a challenge, and I'm going to make the best of it. My recommendation to anyone that is doing this particular model is that I would remove these locator pins for the curtains. They're not really that crucial. It's not a structural product. It's just for placement. I would remove those to tape this a little better. I got a significant amount of paint on the insides of these, and therefore I had to scrape. And even if you can see here, right there, there's still orange tape that's going to be orange paint that's going to be seen. So I'm going to polish these up as well as I can, and then use the new Pledge Renew floor wax. I'm going to dip the entire thing in there and be done with it. This metallic gray turned out nice, and then the silver around it, the silver around the top edge turned out really nice. But all 4 of those doors are going to need the same treatment. So again, you can see here when the curtain is on it, there's a little orange spot on both of those. And what I might end up doing is just using my chisel and take those locator pins off so I can scrape that paint away more, and leave it at that. Now, the Chariot top, I am absolutely thrilled and astounded the way that this turned out. So if you remember, we were talking at length about we put the silver in first and then put the orange in after it. I do have a couple of spots to touch up where the orange bled. So I think you can see there's one spot where the orange bled, and I'll just go over that with the standard same silver color on the interior, but you can't hardly see it. And then there's a couple of little spots in here, like there's a spot right there that is has paint on it, and there that has the orange paint on it. But for the most part, this canopy turned out absolutely fantastic. And then I'll polish this up as well, clean it up a little more, and when we're done, I think I'm going to have just a really nice project canopy to finish up. Just started to put the first ladder rung in. There's 4 that go on each side, and once those are in, that'll really start to set this off. So the canopy has turned out pretty fantastic, and some of the windows aren't too bad from a door perspective from the outside, you know. So there's a problem with, again, some of that orange coming through, but I was able to clear most of it off. And if you look at the exterior of the canopy, you know, like I said, I don't see hardly any orange bleed coming through underneath from that silver, because I blocked it with silver first, and then did silver on the outside. So for me, if you look at the instructions, and if you do a close-up of the instructions and a close-up here, I see all over the place orange bleed through on whoever did this. Now, I'm not sure why these are cloudy. All these windows in here are cloudy. Maybe they did something. Maybe they used some wrong kind of paint, etc. But still, all of that orange bleed throughout. You know, like back here, you can see the orange bleed through, and some of those other problems. That was avoided by doing that interior masking, painting the silver first, and then painting the silver on the outside, the orange on the inside, and then the silver on the outside. I think that mitigated a significant amount of potential orange bleed through. So that is exciting. I'm going to be working through getting some of the pieces put on it here over the next day or so. Here is the back luggage rack, and I just was doing some test fitting, and you know how I indicated that this thing had a terrible warp, and it does. However, when you get it put into the canopy, that warp tends to disappear, you know. So when you've got it there, you can see that the warp is gone, and you're dealing with what's left is just a nice look. And then once you're done there, you can actually put the luggage in or the cargo bay right on top of it, and you're done. I do have the radar dome painted black. There is a silver piece that comes out here that I'll put in, and that will be, I'm going to paint it silver rather than black just for a little bit of contrast, and that of course goes there in the top. Now, that hole in the top is not done well. This hole right here, that hole right there is not the right size for that locator pin, and I'm not sure who whiffed it on that one at Moebius, but that doesn't fit well. And then the other challenge I've run into is that these holes for the ladders, they're really super tight. And so what I think I'm going to do before I try to wedge all of these in there and put them in the proper length is I'm going to just run a drill through them, or run my utility knife through there to get that out. There was some paint bleed through. Yep, there was some paint bleed through, like in the corners back here. And fortunately, I was just able to take my thumbnail and scrape away that because of that super glossy finish. That paint scraped right away, which tells me I have to be careful about handling this because I'm sure that you could easily scratch some of the paint on the outside or on these edges here. We do have all of the bumpers painted and glossed with orange. Here's additional step ladders that have been painted. Here is the silver curtains that have been painted. And a couple of things we're working on still is the two guns that go in the back. Now, one thing I did, and I am sorry I did it, is these guns come with a locator pin out the back, and I just trimmed them off with my sprue cutter, not thinking that they would go in, but they actually have two slots in the base that that make that a real challenge to pull together. Secondly, I've painted these with a gunmetal on the, let's see if we can get some light there, maybe, yeah, so you can see I've used gunmetal for the actual barrels, and then a flat black interior for the gun stocks, and actually gunmetal for the trigger, and then gold for the flange around there, or the energizer, and the last part will be to use red color for that right there. So once that's in and done, we'll be able to mount those in. But if you're going to mount these in the back of the Chariot, make sure you don't cut those locator pins off, because that helps you to put them in to the back of the Chariot. There's two little spots back there. You can see right, maybe, yep, the two little spots right there that are actually for the locator pins, and I eliminated those. So those are gone. The other few things we have to do, there's some interior pieces in here. There's a thermometer gauges here, and these are hinges for the back here, I think it is. This is one of the interiors for that radar dome, and then these are handles, and then these are the 4 lights that would go on the bottoms. The other thing that I have in the works is the headlights. Right now, with that base being that metallic gray, I think what I want to do is take those headlights and make them into, paint the back of them silver. And so by painting the back of those silver, what I think will happen is that will have a much brighter effect on that headlight. It'll give some reflection as it comes out of that. So I've got those 2 to paint and finalize and put that together. A little bit more painting on here. The rest of the stuff is painted. Work on the doors with the curtains here over the next day and complete that project. And the next step you can see here is the dome that I just taped that off and painted, and I'm really pleased the way that turned out. I think that's going to be a fantastic look once it's on top. And big key is you can put it there or slide it back. You know, I guess there's really no right or wrong way to mount that. And then finish that piece up. Robbie the robot has been done, and you can see here I've got the enunciator and his claws, the antennae. You've got the brain is put in place. This vinyl has been pretty nice, nicely turned out nice. Looks like vinyl rather than plastic in my opinion. So I think that looks good. So here's going to be the next challenge is how to actually glue this rubber together. And I've never glued rubber like this or vinyl, but that's going to be something that I'm going to have to do a little research on what glue to use for. I don't think it's rubber, I think it's a vinyl, and you've got those little splices there, and that's going to be the track that goes over the tires as it pulls together. So that is an option moving forward to figure out how to glue that so that it stays, because I don't want that separating over the life of this model. So, well, with that, we are coming to the fast conclusion of the Chariot, and I think this is going to be one of my favorite little static models. Like I said, I'm delighted with the way that the canopy turned out, and I think once I get the orange ladder pieces on there and all the accoutrement that goes with it, the headlights or the big lights at the top, I think that's going to be a fantastic looking little static model. No lights, no electronics in it, just simply an exercise in some paint and cleaning and polishing. So again, we're getting there. Probably the second half of this update will finish it, and then we will have the reveal as part 3 or the finale. So for now, this is the Sloppy Modeler. I'd like to ask all of you to please subscribe, and if you like what you see, subscribe, and if you like what you see, hit the like button and hit that bell so that when I do release new episodes, you can get notified that they're on their way. I appreciate the new subscribers that have come in, and we ask for your continued support. Just trying to grow this channel and hopefully show some different ways to present modeling. And again, just it's a learning experience for me. But for now, this is the Sloppy Modeler signing off, and we will see you in the second half of update number 2. Hello, and welcome back to the Sloppy Modeler here for the second half of update number 2. And I think we're going to go ahead and finish this update with just a few pieces of where we're at. And I think the next one we'll come back to you with will be at the finale, at the reveal. So let's start with where things sit at the moment, and then we can wrap up this particular update number 2. So welcome again, and let's just talk about where the Moebius 1/24 scale Lost in Space Chariot sits, and what we're going to do to it yet, and then how we're going to come to the conclusion. So right now we've got Robbie the robot is done, and we're kind of excited about having him finished up. I like the coloring and the scale, the yellow antenna on the side there, and the red antenna on the other side. His claws look really nice, and again, that vinyl look for, I just use engine gray for that, and boy, I tell you, it just seems to be the right texture for that particular model. Again, the canopy here is done, and you can see that that turned out really nice as far as the gun shroud or gun canopy. That there fits in the in that piece. We do have the antenna is finished and completed, and you can see I've got that silver piece in there, and that is done. All we have to do yet is to glue that into the top of the model to have that completed. The headlights, I've now painted a nice coat of silver on the back of those. Hopefully, let's see if we can get this into frame. Yeah, so that coat of silver there should give us the right reflection in the front. So it's not just glass, but it looks like it's a spotlight, silver glass. I've got both of those painted and completed. Working on finishing up all of the little spotlights, headlights, and you can see those have been painted. I used a black rather than orange. Again, I wanted a little more contrast with this particular model, so there is just a quick look at how that turned out from all of the drop headlights that are going to drop from the bottom of the Chariot along around the base of that. Again, another headlight or another spotlight is done. The tachometer, which will go in the top corner there, the tachometer has been painted, and that is completed with silver on the front. I think there you go, you can see silver front and just black, and that actually fits through this particular hole in the canopy. These are the hinges that are drying, and those will fit in the back of the canopy. Those hinges are really, really tiny, but I think that that is going to look really nice in that gloss black. Both hinges are done and painted, and that's another headlight. Oh, there's the other hinge. So both of those are done, ready to glue in. This is completed, and we'll glue that in next. On the actual canopy itself, this is completed, and I've polished up most of what I'm going to do with that. I'm just going to run just a quick, just a non-ammonia based glass cleaner across that. Hopefully it won't fog that up. I'm not going to overwork this because I don't want to damage the paint, what's there. I did touch up those silver pieces in the front or on the inside that were causing some grief. Those have been touched up on the silver side. Maybe you can see it better there in frame. So all of that silver's been touched up. I've added the ladders to the sides and to the top. I've added the luggage rack to the top. I've added the final piece of the solar panel to the top of that, and have completed that piece. And on the Chariot itself, now I've put these two ladders in. The ladders have been installed on the sides, which those for entering it. What I did is painted that interior piece. It sits underneath the canopy, and it was bright orange. Same thing on this side. It sat underneath the canopy, and it was bright orange before. And now I've done that with the same metallic gray that I used to paint the outside. So that base Chariot is done, except for the tracks, which are now being glued up, and those will be completed and slid over the wheels when those are done. Also on the Chariot base, I've finished up putting these large bumpers in, front and back. I did have to drill those out with my little mini drill. This is what I use, is just a DeWalt. This actually transfers into just a straight piece like that. It's a 9-volt, and I added this little bit of a culotte here to hold the really, really tiny drill bits, and those are in just like a screw gun. This is lit. I do like the fact that that's got a light to it, and this works by a gyroscope, so when you turn it left and pull the trigger, if you just pull the trigger without turning it, it doesn't go anywhere. Move to left or right, and it starts, and that way you can really slow that drill down to almost nothing. So I think I'm going to use that when it comes to doing most of the windows in my Enterprise 350s, both the refits and the A, when I do that piece of it. So the doors are upstairs drying. They've had a coat of clear coat, and it added some benefit to it. So I'm kind of thrilled with that. And for the most part, it's now just a matter of gluing everything up. Everything's been painted, coated where it needs to be coated, and glossed where it needs to be glossed. And now we are done. I did get the guns put in and glued in, and just a few more pieces of touch-up paint, and then the final reveal will be next. So for now, this is update number 2 on the Moebius Lost in Space Chariot, and we appreciate the fact that you guys like and subscribe to my channel, and we're going to continue to build some models, and hopefully you'll find it entertaining and at least a little bit educational. So for now, this is the Sloppy Modeler signing off. And hey, I hope you go out and enjoy building something. It's been a real pleasure to do this one, and we'll see what comes next. Thank you.